But first, I am so sick of us being bullied by the timid, the people too scared to let politicians lift these coronavirus bans. As far as I'm concerned now, they can go social distance themselves. If the rest of us want to risk the infinitesimal chance of catching the coronavirus at a restaurant or a pub or a hotel or a B&B or on a plane, just let us. If you're too scared to come too, then stay home. But don't be a health fascist, one of these people who seem to be really getting off on telling other people to get off the beach and go home and stay home. Please let the rest of us have some fun and maybe create jobs again for the hundreds of thousands of Australians who have lost theirs. Now, you take the latest battle about whether QANTAS should now fly with packed planes or keep a free seat between passengers, space them out. Well, QANTAS boss JOYCE says, please, keeping that free seat costs money, drives up prices, and it's for nothing. Planes are actually very safe.
In fact, there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that have travelled worldwide since COVID-19 has arisen, and we don't know of a single person-to-person transmission on an aircraft.
Now, there's a very good reason for that safety record, which is why you see so many flight attendants quite happy to keep flying during this crisis.
Because the cabin is pressurised, 99.9% of all viruses, all bacteria are filtered through medical grade filters called HEPA filters. They're usually in operating theatres, and the air is extracted every 5 minutes from the aircraft cabin.
You're much more likely to catch the virus in a train or a bus, but none of these facts are enough for the usual scaremongers, often taxpayer funded, of course. They're not losing their jobs, they've got nothing to risk. And these are the people who have been so pro-banning stuff, particularly on the ABC, giving JOYCE real curry today, citing some other alarmists they happen to have heard of.
These experts have reservations. That doesn't give you pause?
Look, just enough and enough and enough and enough. If you think flying is too dangerous, then don't fly. But don't stop the rest of us from jumping on a plane and at a price that we can afford. You stay home. Same deal with public transport. New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian still demands social distancing there, so that buses must be limited to just 12 passengers and each train carriage to 32, which means a lot of commuters are going to be standing there as the trains or buses go by, missing out because they've got, oh, the 12 passengers can't take me. But why? If you're too scared to squeeze into a crowded bus, then go catch a taxi or walk. And let the rest of us decide for ourselves whether the convenience of the ride outweighs the danger. After all, we make that kind of risk assessment every day without needing the government to go and make it for us and ban what they think we might think was an unacceptable risk. Right now, driving your car. Right now, driving your car is far more likely to get you killed than is the coronavirus. About 100 Australians die every month in car crashes, which is about as many Australians who have died all year from the virus. So we calculate that risk. Is the danger of being killed worth the fun and convenience of driving? Most of us say, yep, in we go, off. And it should be exactly the same deal with this virus now that the infection rate is so very low. In South Australia, they haven't had anyone sick at all since Friday. So most of us, I think, are smart enough now to protect ourselves if we must with hand washing, and I think you should, hand washing, sanitisers, maybe a mask. Now, most of us also know that some of these social distancing bans, though, are actually just for show. They're near useless. And as I pointed out last night, the data now shows that even in Victoria, which is the state with the toughest of bans, those bans, particularly the tough, really tough stage 3 stay-home bans, they were imposed only after we'd suppressed the curve. In the case of stage 3 ones, we'd already flattened it. Flattened it by doing basic stuff like washing your hands, avoiding big crowds, stopping cruise ships, quarantining new arrivals, and most importantly, as you can see from the green ones, they're international arrivals. When we stopped international visitors, bang, the curve was already suppressed before all these other bans. So no one was saved because politicians then banned golf or chased people off the beaches or out of the parks and into their homes. All those bans did was ruin the economy and make people miserable. So enough. No to the health fascists. I mean, of course, we've got to keep quarantining returning travellers, and we've got to protect the elderly better, particularly people in aged care, because more than a quarter of the deaths were in aged care homes. Protect them. But for everybody else, let them make the choice and take the risk. Take the responsibility, too, of keeping themselves safe. Hand washing and so on. Let the timid stay at home if that's their choice, but let the rest of us go about our business again. It's time governments got out of our face.